Welcome back, dudes and dudettes. In today's video, I want to do something a bit different. I want to sit and talk to you about 10 of my favourite fiction books that I've ever read that aren't manga. I've done a bit of research over the last couple of weeks about manga recommendations based on my favourite non-manga books. And I think I've narrowed it down to a pretty good 10 recommendations for myself. So the idea behind this video is that I'm going to sit and tell you my favourite ever fiction books and manga books that I think, based on research that I've done, are going to be similar to that to give me the best chance to enjoy this new medium of fiction that I've just got into. I'm really enjoying manga at the minute. I want to continue that, but I feel like to give myself the best chance, I need to try and make sure that I'm reading books that are aligning with my taste. The obvious caveat to this video is that I am literally 3 weeks into reading manga. I don't know all the recommendations that you lot know. This is just research I've done off my own back, going through Reddit and YouTube and things like that. And it's books that I feel like have a good chance to kind of hit. If you've got any other recommendations based on the favourites that I tell you, then bang them in comments and I'm open to suggestions. In no particular order, one of my favourite ever fiction books is a dark fantasy. You could argue the lord of dark fantasy, Abercrombie himself. It's the First Law trilogy and just the First Law world in general. I've read the First Law trilogy, I've read 2 of the 3 standalones, I've got 1 more standalone to read, and then the Age of Madness trilogy. I just love the dark grittiness and realness of this series. The characters are just untouchable. Some of the best characters I've ever read in modern fantasy, and I wanted something similar. The recommendation that came up for something similar to that was Berserk, which I know is really popular online. I've seen loads of videos of people talking about it, that it's one of the darkest kind of manga books out there, manga fantasy series out there, and I fully understand that. I'm actually 9 volumes into this already. Frustratingly, I've had to stop because I don't physically own any more. I'm struggling to get it at the library, so as and when I can get my hands on the rest of this series, I absolutely will be binging it. I love everything I'm reading so far in this. I love Guts, I love the world. I'm really interested to see what Griffith's story is and why he's such a waster. But so far, this series is absolutely giving Joe Abercrombie, First Law world vibes. And it might even be darker. Actually, it is definitely darker. And I thought First Law was dark as shit. Next up, one of my favourites is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This is one I've been struggling with, I'll be honest. I've looked a lot online and I can't really find many manga books that give a similar vibe. So this story follows a guy called Gabriel de Leon, who is half vampire, half human, but he's a vampire slayer, we'll say. Buffy-esque. And the world is basically shut into darkness. The sun no longer shines, which means vampires can come out and just reign free and go absolutely mad. And he's trying to stop that. He's trying to find out a way to end Day's death and bring back light so humans can kind of just run around again and have a bit of fun. And I've done some research and I can't really find any recommendations that are along a similar vein. The only ones that I saw are Vampire Hunter D or Trigun Maximum, I think they were called. So if you've got any recommendations for Vampire Slayer, Vampire Hunter kind of stories that have got dark themes, really good characters, I'm definitely open to suggestions for this one. Next up, and one of my favourites, is Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I had a brain fart then, forgot what his name were. Literally says it there. I love this series. I love everything about it. I love the intricacy. I love the attention to detail that Brandon Sanderson has with the magic system, with the characters. I love that he is a male author who can actually write female characters quite well. Shalon is absolutely unbelievable as a female lead. I love Kaladin's story. I love the cinematic ways that he writes battle scenes. One of the 2 battle scenes, actually, in Words of Radiance, which is book 2 in this story, were some of the best battles I have read in any modern fantasy, in any fantasy in general, to be fair. So the only recommendation I saw coming up was one called Free Run, which I don't really know much about. I don't hold a copy of it, so I can't kind of read through volume 1. But if you've got any recommendations for something that sounds similar to this, please bang them in the comments, because I need something like this on my manga TBR. Next up, we're actually going to dip our toes outside of fantasy, but unfortunately it's a book I don't physically own. I read all of these on Kindle, and it is the Robert Hunter series by Chris Carter, which is by far the best police procedural series I've ever read in my entire life, bar none. It's fast-paced, The main character is really likeable. The main two characters, actually, Robert and Garcia, are really likeable. But these deaths that you follow in this story are the most gory and brutal deaths I've read in any police procedurals. Robert Hunter is part of an ultra-violent crime unit, so they only solve murders which are committed by the most violent individuals in America, and it is really, really graphic. So be warned, if you do fancy something new, I would highly recommend that. Every recommendation, or every person I've recommended that series to, has come back and said it's one of the best police procedurals they've ever read. When it comes to police procedurals in manga, I've struggled a little bit actually, and the only two recommendations really that I could find, I currently own at least the first volumes of. The main recommendation that kept coming up was Monster, this one here, and this is written by Naoki Urasawa. I saw that as a recommendation for like a psychological thriller, cat and mouse kind of thing. And one that I'm actually reading at the minute, I am that far into volume 1 of Death Note, and I am absolutely loving this. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm really enjoying the cat and mouse kind of investigation that this involves, but also the moral ambiguity behind what is happening in this story. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, because if you haven't read this, I think it's quite good to just go into it. You pretty much straight away find out what this Death Note is, but I love how it's making me question myself, almost immersing myself into the story to think, well, actually, what would I do if I was in this situation? Is the main character trying to be a cause for good, or is he actually being evil in what he's doing? So far, I'm really, really hooked on this, and it is giving me something different to the other books that I've read in manga since I've started. So if you've not picked up Death Note, highly recommend it so far. I can't talk about the ending, things like that, because I'm literally, like I said, I think I'm about to finish the first volume, because this is a 2-in-1, but really, really enjoying this. The Harry Potter series up next. I'm probably chasing nostalgia with this one. This was the first series I ever read that really kept me up at night. It was a series that I hold a lot of fond memories of. Before I started reading the Harry Potter series, I was an avid reader as a kid. I read a lot of horror, Shivers books, Goosebumps, and even before that, as a nursery kid, I used to read a lot of Biff, Chip and Kipper and that sort of stuff. But this was the first series that really grabbed me as a reader and opened my eyes to what literature could do. And I'm just wanting a series that's going to give me a nostalgia kick up the arse, I think. I want a book that's got similar vibes, something that's maybe set in a school or even university, something academic that's got a feel-good factor, and I'm really struggling for recommendations. The main one that I see popping up is a series called Witch Hat Atelier. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I've seen it spelled, and I'm just guessing that's how you say it. But I've not seen any other recommendations, so if I should grab that, if it is a good feeling and gives similar kind of vibes, I don't expect the same. That's the good thing about literature, that everything should be different. But I just want something that's maybe going to give me a bit of a nostalgia kick. And I'm struggling with this one, so please, anything that you've got, pop it in comments for me. Now, this series is awesome. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinnerman. This is actually book 2, I think, in the series, but it was the closest one I had to hand. It's about a man called Carl who gets dragged into a portal almost under Earth because aliens have taken over Earth, and they've dragged all humans into this game where they have to play the game, get through all these dungeons and get to the end to be able to go back to Earth and keep living a normal life. But it's progressive fantasy, so when they get into this game, they start off really weak, they have to battle different demons and level up, get new loot, get stronger. But within the first few chapters, Carl's partner's cat gains the ability to talk and becomes this sassy diva cat queen, and she's marvellous. The characters are wicked, there's some proper laugh out loud moments, there is a lot of character growth and really like deep introspective moments where on one page you can be literally laughing and the next page you go, oh shit, what's happening here? This is like deep stuff. And I love it. I really love the progressive side to it. And the one that kept coming up for me as a recommendation for this isn't actually manga, which I didn't know this. It's manhwa, I believe, which is a South Korean comic style. And I didn't know that until I had bought the copies of the books. I actually bought the first 5 of the series, which you've probably guessed already. It is the first 5 books in Solo Leveling by, who writes this? Original story by Chugong. We'll go with that, yeah. I've read volume 1 of this. There wasn't much progression at the side. It seems like it's about some sort of monster hunter group of people. They're part of, it seems like, not a business, but these people have got like a profession. It's their job to go around and hunt monsters, and they're graded. So the more monsters they kill, the better grading they get. There wasn't much of the progressive side, but what I did like about this was the art style. It seems, anyway, outside of manga, was in colour, and you read from front to back, which is like the normal British way of reading. So I really enjoyed this. I only ordered the other 4 on Vinted very recently, so I will be picking them up soon and continuing with the series. But if you've got any other recommendations for stuff that's like progressive fantasy, where characters start off weak and get stronger, I'm definitely open to that, because I love the statistics and things behind it. So I'm gagging to continue with this one. Next up, we've got Pierce Brown's Red Rising series. This is not book 1 in the series. I think it's like book 6 or 7. Book 1 is called Red Rising. Book 2 is Golden Sun. Book 3 is Morning Star. I've only actually read the first 3 and I loved them. Book 1 actually had similar vibes to like Hunger Games. So if you've got any recommendations for manga like that, I'm very open to that. I really enjoyed book 1. Book 2 and 3 turn more into space operas, quite harder sci-fi. So I'm looking for something similar to that, really. The only recommendations I've seen for that, when I've gone on Google and looked on Reddit and things, is Attack on Titan, which I've read book volume 1 and 2 on, because they're on Kindle Unlimited. Really enjoyed that. I do want to continue it, but I just prefer a physical book in my hand. And one that I saw popping up was one called Gantz or Gauntz or something like that. I've actually gone onto Vinted and ordered the first, I think, 6 volumes of that, because it gave a similar kind of vibe, although it isn't set on another planet. I believe that Gantz or Gauntz, however you pronounce it, is set on our planet, but then there may be some sort of alien sci-fi-esque thing on there where these people get to battle things and then they progress. So maybe an element of progressive fantasy in there as well. I could maybe look at hybriding that as a solo leveling kind of alternative. But I'm really looking for good sci-fi recommendations. I'm not massively into space and stuff like that, and I'm not overly intelligent. So sometimes hard sci-fi like Dune can be lost on me a little bit. But I do like certain sci-fi elements. I like spaceship battles. I don't mind if it's set on another planet. Red Rising is actually set on Mars. Humans have colonized Mars, and we're working there to basically source materials and minerals and things and try and re-establish a civilization on another planet. And there are other planets involved, which I'm fine with. I just don't want it to be too heavy sci-fi, because it's just, I have brain farts and it's just too much for me at times. So sci-fi recommendations for me, if you will. One of my favourite fantasy series from 2025 was a series that not many people seem to talk about. It's called The Rage of Dragons. It's actually called the Burning series or Burning trilogy, but the first book is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. The second book is The Fires of Vengeance, and it was fabulous, fast-paced, shortest chapters, African-inspired fantasy with a really cool magic system where there was another realm where the main characters could go into this realm and fight demons to become stronger and use them powers in the normal world. I also really liked the different clothes and weapons that we use because it's African-inspired. I like the fact that women held a lot of power in this story as well, and that without women yielding power to the men remained vulnerable. So it just felt very different to me, and like nothing else really I've had in any other fiction that I've read, let alone manga or graphic novels or anything like that. So I'm open to suggestions for any sort of manga books that have different cultures or belief systems and things like that, that kind of open your mind to different people. The only recommendations I've seen pop up time and time again for that is Vinland Saga, which I actually own the first, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4... I've got 5 copies there that are all different. I've got 1, 2, 3, 12 and 13 because I'm just trying to find them all on Vinted, and then I've got a few more coming. The only issue I have with that is Vinland Saga seems to be sort of, I don't know if it's Norse-inspired Vikings, which I'm all for. Another one of my favourite series of all times is the Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne, which is about Norse gods and things like that. So I'm very open to this, but it doesn't give me the same vibes as what the Evan Winter series did. So I will absolutely be reading Vinland Saga when I've got more of the copies, because I think this is going to be a series that I'm going to want to continue one after another. That's one thing I'm struggling with at the minute with manga, is I don't have full series of anything. So I end up getting 9 volumes in, absolutely loving it, and then I'm like, right, now what do I do? Copies are hard to get hold of at the library. I can't find them in charity shops. They're not on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm trying my best to stock up full volumes and collect full volumes before I start reading them, because I'm getting wound up at the minute. So any recommendations for anything that's inspired by different cultures, please drop it in comments. And then the last book I want to talk about in this video, and these aren't all of my favourites. I've got other books that I could include in this, but you know, your attention span is only so long, so I stuck with 10 today. But another book I wanted to talk to you about is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang, which is an Asian fantasy standalone story about a young character who lives in a very rural part of, it's kind of like China, Japan, that area. It's in the wilderness, in the countryside, and he's living a very culturally traditional life where, you know, women stay at home, they look after the kids. The dad is a swordsman, I don't know what you call them, samurai we'll call them, where he goes out and he trains to be stronger and stronger. But it turns out that the main character's mum actually used to be a warrior, and then she gave it all up to become what society told her she needed to be. There are just so many different themes that are covered in this. You've got the themes of the mum who wants to be more than society is telling her that she should be. You've got the young child in the story who is very confused by what they are supposed to be, and it's one of them books that I would really want all of you to go into blind. For me, it was a masterpiece. I really enjoyed it. One of the probably 10 books in my life that I've ever read that truly made me cry, and a book that I will absolutely reread at some point in life. It is truly, for me, one of the best books I've ever read. And I want something that's going to give me something similar. I really enjoyed the Asian inspirations behind it. I felt really immersed into this. I remember growing up, I used to watch a lot of martial arts films, and I remember being fascinated by like the Chinese countryside and the sheer cliffs and the greenery and the little buildings that they used to have scattered around everywhere. And it was one of them books where when I was reading it just felt very much like I was dragged back into what used to mesmerize me as a kid. And I think that is a credit to how good of a job the author did. Now, when it comes to recommendations, the only recommendations that I've really seen that give similar kind of feelings or themes and vibes is Vagabond, which I haven't even managed to get hold of a single book yet, because when I go on Vinted, everyone seems to be wanting to sell used books for exactly the same price as a brand new one, which I'm not doing. And another one that I actually saw in a shop the other day, I forgot the name of it, so I'm going to check on my phone, is something of the Immortal, Blade of the Immortal, I think. Yes, Blade of the Immortal. I saw that in a used bookshop when we went to Filey recently. I saw it actually at a shop in Scarborough. We went to Scarborough for a day and I saw it there. I'd never heard of it. I picked it up and I thought that looks really good, so I added it to my list, and before doing this video I cross-referenced it. It looked like it might give similar vibes. So if you've read Blade of the Immortal, drop it in comments and tell me if it's going to give something similar. I have actually read the first 3 volumes as well of Kagurabachi. I think they're up here. Got them here, and then I went over to Shonen Jump and read I think the next 5 or 6, so I am halfway through this series, and that's giving similar vibes. My only issue with Kagurabachi is that I'm just not really hooked on any of the characters yet. I love the storyline. The storyline's actually giving more Green Bones Saga vibes. If anyone's read any fiction, or if you like general fiction fantasy, Green Bones Saga by Fonda Lee is another really good kind of Yakuza inspired fantasy series about a world where jade, the emerald or the precious thing, whatever you call it, jade, is used to kind of give yourself extra powers. So if you hold more jade, you will become stronger, and this is giving similar vibes to the Greenbone Saga. So I am still enjoying Kagurabachi. I will continue it, but I'm not obsessed with it, let's just say that. So any recommendations for Asian-inspired, maybe samurai, katana, Kill Bill-esque, whatever, something that's a little bit different, I'm very open to recommendations. And I would imagine there's going to be a lot of them, considering that manga originates in Japan, I think. So I would assume that there's a lot of like samurai-inspired stories. I've just not come across them yet. So please give me all of your recommendations. If I've said anything in this video and you've thought, I think you'll like this, just drop it in comments for me, because I'm very open to trying new things. That's why I wanted to come along and start reading manga. I've really, really enjoyed it so far, and I'm going to continue it. It's really taken over my current interest, at least. when it comes to reading. It's my absolute hyperfixation, and I'm just so excited to try new stuff. So all the new stuff, drop it in comments for me. If I can find it at library, charity shops, online, Vinted, whatever, I will try and grab hold of them and I'll buy them, and then I'll tell you what I thought about them. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. A bit of something different. I'm really being a bit selfish today, and I'm trying to pick your brains and grab some recommendations from you. So if you've watched till this point, I truly appreciate and love you the most. I will see you in the next one. I forgot to say, I'm just going to show you what I've got so you don't have to recommend stuff I've already got. Spy Family, Kaiju number 8, Parasite, One Punch Man. I've read Spy Family number 1, read Kaiju number 8. I've also just randomly there got the Hobbit graphic novel that I want to read at some point. Next up, Solo Leveling, which I spoke to you about. I've got the first 4 volumes of Sakamoto Days and Bleach 1, 2 and 3. Kagurabachi I spoke to you about. I've got Monster and 20th Century Boys. I do plan on trying to find these like discounted online and collecting the full series, because I'm almost certain I'm going to really enjoy both them series. Death Note, I have the first 8 volumes because they're 2-in-1s. Alice in Borderland, that sounds really interesting to me. I think I'm going to keep an eye on Vinted and try and collect the next few and then see what I think of that series. Full Metal Alchemist, I've got the first 6 volumes in the omnibuses there. I think I'm going to enjoy that. I really enjoy Brandon Sanderson's magic system in Mistborn, which is like an alchemy-based magic system. So I'm interested to see what that one's about. I've got the first 6 volumes of Berserk. Again, I am up to volume 9 at the minute, but I just don't have the rest of them to read. As soon as I've got them, I'm going to read them. Dragon Ball, I've read the first 12 volumes of Dragon Ball. I am enjoying it, but I don't think it hits as hard for me because I didn't really watch it as a kid. There's certain parts in it that I think are quite immature and stuff. I feel like if I'd watched it as a child, them bits would have been better. I do think Bulma's hilarious, but yeah, Dragon Ball's just not hitting the way that I want it to. The first 3 volumes I really, really enjoyed, but then the comedy and stuff had I got used to it by then. And then lastly, I've got Vinland Saga. I've got about another 6 volumes of Vinland Saga on the way in the post. And then I've got Goodnight Pun Pun. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've heard terrifying things about that series, and I am very much here for it. I love horrid stories. I love stories that have got like little hope. I love stories that are just real, that cover trauma and depression, mental health struggles. I've been there myself. I've been on and off antidepressants for the last 3 years or so. So I'm very open to healing stories or stories of no healing, because we don't always get the healing that we want. Anyway, that's what I already own. I've only been reading these for like 3 weeks, so don't expect these 4,000 volume manga collections that you get online. That's not realistic for me. This here is all the space I have. If I can zoom out, I've got a Billy bookshelf here that's got my general kind of fiction on. I've also got down here that you don't see shoe boxes and stuff because we're short on space. And then to the right hand side here, I've got a couple of shelves that I can free up at the bottom for manga. But I'm not working with a spare bedroom, unfortunately, like a lot of these people online. I've got 3 kids. We're in a 3-bedroom house. It's not realistic for me to be able to get humongous manga collections. So go steady with me. If you've got any recommendations that are on Shonen Jump, where I can read digitally, it will be massively appreciated. Again, if you've listened to this babble at the end, I truly appreciate you. I'm going to shut up now and see you in the next one.